Hello everyone, today's video is just gonna be a little tutorial on how to do a mixing trick I use a lot, which is a stereo widening trick, I guess, which relies on phase cancellation. So what we have here is a drum track, a bass track, some rhythm guitar tracks and a lead guitar track, just to show you how that trick would sound in a mix. In this case I've used this trick on the rhythm guitars and the lead guitar take here. So let's first have a listen to this little sample track here, and I'm gonna switch the effects on and off during the playback so you can hear the difference. So first let's have a look at the rhythm guitars. So what I did here is I've recorded the same track twice, separately, not just copy pasted it, just like you would do in classic double tracking, as I have it here, just for reference. And then you, instead of classic double tracking where you record the same part twice and then pan it hard left and hard right, you just keep both tracks dead center. And for the second track you throw on this little plugin called Channel Polarity Control. This is the one for Reaper. Maybe there is an equivalent in other DAWs, I suppose so, which is set to invert right. So what this does is when you have a mono signal like this one right here, when you play that back on a stereo system like studio monitor speakers or headphones or anything like that, it's not actually technically a perfect mono signal because it doesn't come from a single speaker. What happens is that the same exact signal is played at the same time on both speakers, so it appears to be one single voice coming from the middle between the speakers. So if you set this plugin to invert right, just the right channel or right pin like this, on this mono signal, what happens is that the left speaker plays the mono signal just like it was before, and the right speaker inverts the waveform of it. So it basically plays the physical opposite of what the left speaker is playing. So if you try to play back this mono signal with the inverted right channel on a mono system, the single speaker would try to play back both of these channels left and right at the same time, which averages at 0 at every point in time, because both speakers before played the exact opposite of each other, and when you mash that together you get nothing. I'm gonna hit the little mono button here so the mix is mono for you on whatever you're listening on. What happens is that as soon as I switch this channel polarity control back on, the signal will completely disappear, so you will hear nothing. So here's how that sounds. So if you play that track back on a stereo system with the channel polarity control on, so the right channel is inverted, it might just sound a little off and weird, and my computer also has some trouble playing that back. However, if you at the same time also play a slightly different signal, like a double track as we have it here, that's just sitting in the middle without any phase inversion, see the channel polarity control plugin is missing here, then you get a nice big stereo widening effect, everything sounds fine. The cool thing about this is that you don't get the washy effect that you would get when you have classic double tracking, panned hard left and hard right. When you sum that back up to mono, you get sort of washy, weird chorus type effect. Not quite, but it seems to lose its definition a bit, especially on staccato riffs. Just for reference, this is a normal double track riff with just both tracks recorded separately, panned hard left to hard right. Here's how that sounds. So the cool thing is you don't get that with this trick here, because all that's left when you switch back to mono is this track here, because this one with the channel polarity control and the right channel inverted will just completely disappear. So just to sum it up, the trick with the rhythm guitars is you record the same part twice, just as in classic double tracking here, and make sure it's nice on top of each other and nicely aligned. You just keep them both panned to the center at the same level, and then on the second track, I call it the side track, you just invert the right channel using this channel polarity control, and then you get this nice stereo effect. Now it gets a little more complicated when we get to the lead stuff like vocals or lead guitar here. I'm going to show you what I've done here. So what we have on this track is just an amp sim, a cap sim, an equalizer and limiter, and I've turned the delay off for now. So here's what the solo track sounds like. So for this track we can also use the stereo widening trick to make it sound bigger and sit better in the mix. First we're going to choose a delay plugin. I'm just going to use the normal stock Reaper delay here, re-delay, and we're going to switch off the dry signal completely and leave the wet signal at 0. So then we're going to go to the I/O section up here and tell this plugin to only send its output to channel 3 and 4 and set the delay time to about, I recommend 30 milliseconds to start with. I'm also going to apply a low-pass filter at around 2000 Hz. I want to get rid of the pick attack and the really harsh high end on it, because if that's doubled up at 30 milliseconds distance, it's going to sound a little weird. The next plugin in our plugin chain here is going to be the channel polarity control plugin. As you've seen before, we're going to set it to invert right. And here in the I/O section we're going to set the inputs and outputs to just 3 and 4. This invert right only affects the wet signal coming from the delay here. And last in the plugin chain we're going to use the 3-band joiner. So we take this 3-band joiner and take pins 5 and 6 out. So we're just going to get the input from 1, 2, 3 and 4 joined back to 1 and 2. And here's what that's going to sound like. And again, if we play that back through mono, this delayed and phase inverted channel here will just cancel itself out and you'll just be left with the standard mono channel as it was before. Here's the effect switched on and off in mono. This also works really well on synths and vocals. Another cool thing with this trick is that when you want a signal to sound wider than mono, but not as wide as, for example, the rhythm guitar tracks down here, you can just turn down the inverted delayed second track that you made in comparison to the dry signal, and it will sound a little less wide and a little less prominent. Let me show you. Because I'm lazy and don't want to do this whole procedure every time, setting up the pins, setting up the plugins and everything, I made a little plugin called the StereoTron 9000. This is this one here, and it does exactly what these plugins here do, just broken down into one plugin. Now keep in mind, this plugin is made in Reaper's own JSFX language, so it will run only in Reaper. I don't know how to code VSTs, I'm sorry. This plugin basically has 5 sliders, one for the delay time, for the wet and dry signal, and a high pass filter for the delayed signal. And it does the phase inversion automatically on just the delayed channel. I've never published this plugin before, but I will provide a download link to it in the description of this video so you can check it out for yourself if you want. So just as a quick recap, what this plugin does, it creates a double to this track, delays it slightly, applies a low and high pass filter to it, and then just inverts the right channel phase of this double track, and then sums everything back together to give this stereo image. Alright, that's it for now. If you have any questions or if anything wasn't clear, please let me know in the comments and I'll try to answer as quickly and precisely as I can. I hope this is useful for you, have some fun with this experiment, and goodbye.